Hello, everyone. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to create a simple geometry that we may use for various purposes, including casting, or we can interpret this as a building. But I'm just going to create a simple rectangle now, which is going to be 5 inches by 8 inches. And then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create some line work. Okay, so now all my lines are separate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explode this. And then I'm just going to connect the corners. Okay, and then I'm going to do loft. So we'll just connect all these lines. And when I hit loft, well, actually what I'm going to do first, because if I just loft this, it will be flat. I'm just going to pull these lines a little bit further back. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit loft again. And I'm going to select all my lines in order of the way I want them to be connected. I'm going to hit enter. And if I select normal, what's going to happen here is I am going to have this curved geometry. And then I can choose how this is draped according to all the various points. I can choose straight sections that looks like this, or I can choose normal like this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to press OK, and then I'm going to select these outer curves, and then I'm going to join them up again, and I'm going to copy it. So I'm just going to copy it down to somewhere here. And then I'm going to loft these two curves together. Actually, what I'm going to do, oh, these are separate at the moment. So let's just connect them all. And I'm just going to go in here. So this is now one piece, and I'm going to type in extrude. Okay, and I'm going to do this right here. And I'm going to explode this so that I can select this top face. And I'm going to delete the top face, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all this, and then I'm going to join it up. Okay, so now we have, okay, we're just going to select all the faces. And I'm going to join them up like this. Okay, so now this is one solid volume. So even if, for instance, you didn't want to print this as a solid volume, I would still recommend including this as a solid volume in your file. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go to export selected, and I'm going to save this as a test file. I'm going to select an STL file type, and I'm going to hit save. So I'm saving over my old file. And right here, I can actually decide how many edges I would like. So I'll just switch the preview on. So as you can see, it's subdivided this box further according to the file type, and the number of edges actually determine how detailed this is going to be and how many subdivision levels it's going to have. So I'm going to hit OK. All right, right here. And then if you haven't done so already, please download Bamboo Studio. You can do this from Bamboo Labs, and you can download it for free. Once you have this, I already have this saved. I'm just going to delete this for a second. You have to select the correct printer. And if you're setting this up for the very first time, you're going to have to go into Settings and select Bamboo Lab X1. If you haven't got it, you just go to this little icon right here, the settings icon, and then you select your Bamboo Lab X1 printer. And that's the only printer you're gonna need if you're printing at DFL and sending a file there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into here, and I'm going to select my test file. Okay, so this is my test file. As you can see, the test file is actually a lot smaller than I actually intended. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to scale and change this to 8 inches. Now, if you are opening Bamboo Studio for the first time, you may actually see that this is not in inches, it is in millimeters. And in this case, you'll have to go here to this drop-down icon, go to preferences, and then go to units and change between metric and imperial. Okay, since we're already correctly set up, let's see what we've got. So we've got this solid lump that we created with these drooping sections. And let me see, I had some old settings. I'm just going to reset this to the way the settings were initially when I first started. So I had a 20% infill by default, and I had 5 top shell and bottom shell layers and 2 walls. Okay, and if you're not seeing all these settings, just switch on the advanced function and you'll see all of them. Okay, and then there were no supports and there was nothing else in terms of these kind of like, brim sections, etc. Okay, so now I'm going to slice this very quickly just to show you what we get by default normally within DFL. So as you can see right here, sorry, this is not what we normally see. Sorry, I'm just going to reset this to 20. So this is the 20% infill density. And then I'm going to slice this plate. So this is normally what happens in DFL when we slice a file. You have this solid lump of plastic that has all of this material in a honeycomb pattern, and it has a lot of walls that, quite frankly, you don't need. You can print this in a much more optimized manner. So first of all, let's just make a note that if you were to print this in a standard way, this will take about 9 ounces of material and it will cost $6.31 to print. So if we keep this in mind, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this up so that we're using less material, and I'm going to still print it as a solid lump of plastic if this is what you're after. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to go in here in the infill, and I'm just going to put this to 8%. So the sparse infill density, we're setting this up to 8%. And I'm going to do the same thing again. As you can see, the actual honeycomb is a lot less. It's a lot more open. And we're down to 5.5 ounces and $3.92, which is a lot less. Now, let's see if we can do even better. Now, technically, we do not need a top shell layer that is 5 layers thick. We can just bring this down to, say, 2 layers. Okay, and then we're going to slice this plane again. We did the same for the bottom, so we only have 2 layers. So this is only a very slight difference. And what you can see here is that we've gone down a little bit, but not quite as much as we would like. Now, if this was a building, what we could do is we can actually turn this upside down. So let's just rotate this 180 degrees. So our building is down here. This is the top of our building, and this is the bottom in this case. And since we've rotated our print, what we can do is we can go to top shell layers, and we can just set this to 0, because technically if we're putting this building on a model and this is the base, we're not going to be able to see it, and therefore we don't need to have it there. Okay, now and then our wall loops are 2, so the printer goes twice around every time around the perimeter. Now we still have the infill. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to set the infill to 0. All right, and then I'm going to slice this again. Now, what we can see right here is that we have something that is pretty much a box, and we have these sections that are building on each other, and it is very light. We're down to 1.82 ounces, and this will cost us about $1.29. So we've significantly reduced the amount of material, time, and cost. Now, unfortunately, the way this model is working is we can see that this support right here is not quite enough. Now, there are a couple of ways of doing this to actually make sure that our print doesn't fail. So one is we can go in here, and if you have something like this, you can add a brim, which we're going to go over in a second, but I'm just going to look at supports very briefly. So we can enable supports. And Bamboo Studio does these very nice automatic free supports. And generally, I like to kind of do a slim tree, so we're really minimizing the amount of material. Now, the good thing about these supports is they do not cling to your geometry in the same way as traditional supports, so they're very easy to remove and you don't have to worry about them. They will add some material to your print, but that means that the sections that we were a little bit concerned about in terms of printing, these middle sections, especially where adhesion may not necessarily happen in the same way, are going to be a lot safer. So let's just go down. So this bit looks exactly the same, but underneath here, we have this mesh of tree-like structures, okay? And they have these legs, and they basically support all the bits that may be in danger of coming off of the plate and ruining your print. What you'll also see is they have these bases around areas that may be a little bit sparse that need further reinforcement. Now, the cost and the time has increased a little bit, so we are up to 3.56 ounces of material, and we are up to $2.52 in terms of cost. But this is still a long way off the original lump of plastic that we were working with in the beginning. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to set this up if you wanted to use this for casting. And I'm going to assume that I just want to cast not within this print, but actually on the surface of this print. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to rotate this back to where it was, and I'm going to turn this 90 degrees. Okay, so now we've turned this 90 degrees. We still do not have any infill in here. We also don't have any need for supports because this geometry, since it's curved and it's gradual, and we do not have any overhangs, it doesn't need to be supported by anything. And our infill is still set at 0. We're still just printing with two wall loops, and we can slice this again right here. Okay, and if we go down, we can see that this is a very nice, clean geometry that is printed and it's printing on itself. There are no gaps. And then the only thing is we do not have this top wall, which quite frankly, we don't need because we're going to be laying this flat on its side and then placing material on top of this to cast. Okay. If you did have something that has very sharp edges, you may want to increase the number of walls that you're working with to maybe 3 or 4, but this is working for our purposes. Now, the only thing is, this is a very tall object. It's tall and skinny, and what normally happens with the 3D printers is there's a bit of vibration that occurs, and that may actually cause our 3D print to detach. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Other, and then we're going to go to Brim Type, and I'm just going to put an outer brim. Okay, and then since this is a tall object, first I'm going to put 5 mil just so we can see what a brim actually looks like. So we're going to do this here. And it's the exact same thing. The only difference is it's placed a little bit of this lip that gives us further adhesion to the plate. Now, because this is quite tall and skinny, I'm just going to increase this to, say, 15 millimeters. And we're going to see how this changes. So now this lip is even wider. So you can do this. And then the last thing that I'm going to cover is you can actually do a Control-C, Control-V, and you can print a number of objects on the same plate, which means that once you process your file, you only send one file in. Whoever is processing this file is going to only have to send one file to the printer, and you're only going to be using one printer at a time. So it's going to be a lot less chaotic in the lab. And also it means that you get all your prints at the same time. Now here I still have the brim. The brim is going around all the objects, and we have a very nice tight packing. And all my 5 geometries are actually printing at the same time. So if I had a repeated panel of tiles, I can just get all my panels out of this one file. Now, obviously, the amount of material and the cost has gone up because we're printing 5 rather than 1 copy of this geometry. But again, it is a more optimized workflow. And lastly, here's what you need to do once you've gone through this exercise. What you want to do is make sure that whoever is working with your file can open it and see exactly what you are seeing. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to File, and you're going to export, and then you want to export a 3MF file, which the DFL lab is going to be able to actually open and see exactly this window and all your settings. And then you can also export a G-code. So you can send the 3MF file along with your G-code file, which is what we send straight to the printer, to the design media lab. And the benefit of having the 3MF file is that they can go into this information box and they will know exactly how much material you're using, what to charge you, and they'll be able to use your G-code that they can either export from here or they can use the one that you've sent in to send it straight to the printer. So there are no surprises. You know exactly what you're getting and you have full control over your settings. Thank you.